Upfront and Outspoken with Bob Williams. If you love the Constitution,
man is not free unless government is limited.
If you love freedom,
as government expands, liberty contracts.
If you believe in personal responsibility, if you believe America is still the greatest nation on earth, then get ready for an experience you'll never forget. This is Upfront and Outspoken. Here's your host, Bob Williams.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white, and blue.
And welcome back. This is Upfront Outspoken. Of course, I'm your host, Bob Williams, and today I am going to make a special rant. Why? Well, it seems that I posted a music video, which I kind of liked, on my Facebook page. And for whatever the reason, it has created a firestorm of controversy. And I've had people tell me, oh, Bob, you know, I'm a strong advocate of the First Amendment. I'm a strong advocate of this amendment. I'm a strong advocate of the other amendment. But people fail to forget there's a amendment. I should say it's supposed to be an amendment. Yeah, well, proper English, whatever you want to call it. I never use proper English on my show. But a particular amendment has been coming under fire over and over and over again. And I'm going to be talking about that after you hear this song. This is the song that has created such a controversy on my Facebook page. It's by a group called the Trigger Jack Band.
I got something to say. Don't let them take our rights away. Before Iraq, before Vietnam, guns have always kept our country strong. So think about your freedom as you greet the dawn. Where'd we all be if our guns were gone? Our founding fathers knew we'd have to fight. That's why guns are guaranteed in our Bill of Rights. Leave my guns alone. Let me be free to defend my home. Leave my guns alone. Let me live my life where the buffalo roam. It's my right, so leave my guns. Leave my guns alone. First they'll take your rifles and the shotguns. That's how they think in Washington. They'll get our handguns in their sights. We won't give them up, cause we're gonna fight. Up in New York, they've got gun control, but it's drugs and crime taking its toll. And that good folks can't walk the streets, cause punks and thieves are the people they made. Leave my guns alone. Let me be free to defend my home. Leave my guns alone. Let me live my life where the buffalo roam. It's my right, so leave my guns. Leave my guns alone.
Yeah, I'm going to leave that play in the background. But the problem is, what's bugging me so bad is I have been hearing from people that are complaining that guns aren't needed. But guess what, folks? If you study history, if you've gone over history, especially the American Revolution, you will have noticed guns were required to boot England out of here back in 1776 and all the way up until the Constitution itself was made. Guess what? You know, I'm a gun advocate. I'm not going to say I'm not. I am a gun advocate. And the problem that we're hearing, I shouldn't say we're hearing, but that I'm hearing ever since I posted that particular song by the Trigger Jack Band, is that we don't need our guns. You forget, it took guns to grant you the rights you shroud yourself around with the Bill of Rights. It took guns to do this. So our forefathers made it part of the United States Constitution. It's called the Second Amendment. And it says right in that amendment that our right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's right, shall not be infringed. Yes, I'm going to hear many of you say, well, that was only for a militia. That only was muskets. Well, times change. Times change. You know, I do see some aspects of some sort of regulation. There's always compromise here. There's always compromise. I mean, think about it. Who needs an assault rifle to go deer hunting? I mean, you don't. But yet, who is a militia? You know, what is a militia? Isn't it a group of people who will defend their country from foreign invaders? Did we not have that foreign invasion on 9/11? Did we not have that? You know, if you think about it, granted, we have a standing army. We have a standing army. You have, you know, the U.S. Army. You have the National Guard. But if this country were ever invaded, and God forbid it would ever happen, do you or do you not think yet that Yamamoto, who said back before World War II, there is no way you're going to be able to invade America because behind every closed door you're going to be met with a gun. Yamamoto was right. There's over somebody was saying like over 400 million firearms in the hands of private citizens. And there is any country in the world, even if they are the dumbest people around, will know if you decide you're going to try to take over America, you're not going to do it, no matter what. You're having extremists right now. They're going to do terroristic acts. I mean, that's a common. Look what's going on in the Middle East, and eventually, it might happen here in the United States. But if they try to take over the United States, and if we allow them to take over this country, it's a shame by taking our guns away. So I'm telling everybody out there, leave my guns alone. Leave my guns alone. Because if it were not for those guns, your rights under the United States Constitution would not be there. They would not. And I know this is going to cause a firestorm of controversy. I'm going to get all kinds of hate mail. Well, that's fine. That's another right you have that was defended by the use of guns. It's called the First Amendment, the right of free speech. You have that right. You have that right. And it got to the point yesterday on my Facebook page where one particular person told me that I was going to unfriend them. You know what that is? You know, you just unclick it, boom, they no longer can post or anything. And I responded back to that. I says, no, I'm not going to unfriend you because you have the right to say what you desire under the First Amendment. So the only way you're going to be no longer able to voice an opinion about something I post is if you unfriend me. So if you do not like the fact that I am a advocate of firearms, I suggest you get the hell off my Facebook page right now. Because I am. And I have news for you. The statistics out there, yes, there are plenty of them. You're going to go from one side to the other side and in the middle. But the fact remains, folks. The fact remains. If it were not for guns, if it were not for that fact, you would not be able to enjoy all the rights you currently have under the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. You would not have that. Imagine what this country would be like if our forefathers said, oh, we're just going to let things go as they are. You know, I got news for you. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have a time machine to go back into time and see what our world would have been like, or our country would have been like, if we were still under the government in Europe, in England, in the UK. I do not have that ability. But I do know that what started the revolution was the fact that Americans said right out, no, we are Americans. We want representation in Parliament. We want representation in Parliament because of the taxation, the T-tax. If you remember your history, the T-tax. Taxation without representation is exactly what was going back to the American Revolution. People finally said enough. You had the Boston Tea Party, Concord, Lexington. People had enough of not being represented in Parliament. So, guess what? Armed revolts. Armed revolts. And it was that armed revolt that finally gave you, all you bleeding heart liberals, all you whine babies out there, it was that armed revolt that gave you the Bill of Rights. You cloak yourself, you shroud yourself, you wrap the Constitution around you, but you forget one thing. When you wrap yourself in that Constitution, remember the Second Amendment is there. Every citizen, as long as you don't have a felony conviction, every citizen has the right to keep and bear arms. And that right, according to the United States Constitution, says right out, shall not be infringed. And infringed, if you look it up in the dictionary, basically is going to be telling you they cannot come into your home and take it away. Another amendment, you forget about this one too. They can't just come into your home and take it away. Nope. Not going to happen. But yet all these bleeding hearts want everyone to give up their firearms. Well, you will have an armed revolt if you do that. You will. You know, there's a lot of things going on in American politics that people are very, very upset about. And I'm not going to say there aren't. And there are many within both the Democratic and the Republican Party that are trying to do what they can to reformulate the Constitution, namely that Second Amendment. But how many times has the United States Supreme Court came out and said, guess what, folks, you cannot infringe upon that. So what do? They pass other regulations in an attempt to infringe on it. And you can bet the laws that they are attempting to pass will eventually end up back in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. And the U.S. Supreme Court, which is the final say, will say right out, guess what? You are trying to infringe on the Second Amendment. You are trying to infringe on that. And those laws, those bits of legislation coming out of Capitol Hill or state governments will eventually go down. New York has a tough one. I mean, they've done a lot of regulating. But there are states who know for a fact that we're not going to go against the Constitution. In fact, we are going to allow people to be able to carry concealed weapons, to open carry. This is a show of solidarity to those of us who believe solidly in the Second Amendment. I'm also a very proponent of the First Amendment, your Fourth, your Fifth Amendments. I'm a very strong proponent of the United States Constitution. Is there some form of regulations that can be brought down? Yes, there are. I'm not going to say there can't be some sort of regulations brought down. But do not try to take my right as a citizen to to own a firearm away from me. It's not going to happen. Pandora's box has already been opened in many states. How are they going to take that back? You can't. You can't. So how do you regulate it? That's going to be up for debate. You know, there's compromise. There's always room for compromise. And I'm not going to say there isn't. There is always room for compromise. Yet, do not infringe on my rights and my rights overall. And many out there are trying to do just that. They would rather see our Constitution be trampled on, be changed. It's not going to happen in my lifetime. I'm going to tell you that right now. You're going to be able to do some regulation, but you're not going to be able to take that amendment away from me so long as I'm alive. And there are 400 million firearms out there. Granted, you know, that's about 2 firearms per man, woman, and child out there. You're thinking that's a lot. Yeah, it is a lot. But if back in World War II, Yamamoto said right out, there's no way you're ever going to be able to invade the United States. He's right. Any country, any radical group, anyone that intends to do harm on the United States, you're going to be answering to a power higher than the U.S. government, higher, stronger than the U.S. military, and it's called the American people, the gun owner. So remember, bleeding hearts, remember this. I want you to get this through your thick skulls. If it were not for the fact of guns, you would not have the rights you so much shroud yourself around today. So, before you say a word, before you condemn a gun owner, before you criticize those individuals who are lawfully licensed to carry a firearm, bear that in mind. If it were not for the rights to bear arms, you would not have the freedoms you are enjoying today. It took an armed revolt to earn you those rights. And no one is going to give it up. Congress, in its states, in the U.S. Constitution, right in the Second Amendment, that you have the right to keep and bear arms, and that Congress shall not infringe on those rights. It's been challenged. It's been taken to the U.S. Supreme Court. But guess what? The second it hit their desk, they said right out, no state, no government can infringe on that right. Remember that. And then remember what Yamamoto said well before World War II. No way in hell are you going to be able to invade the United States, because if you do, behind every closed door will be a person with a gun. He knew it, because he knew we were not going to allow ourselves to roll over and play dead if someone invaded our country. Now, once again, I want to emphasize, there is room for compromise. There always is room for compromise. But like the Trigger Jack band said, leave my guns alone, because I'm not giving them up. I am not giving them up. I will defend my family. I will defend my home against any intruder, against a enemy. I will. And I think the vast majority of gun owners probably feel the very same way. And I know this segment, this rant, will get me in a lot of hot water with a lot of people. Well, guess what? That's your right. And remember that. That is your right. Your right under the First Amendment. But also remember, if it were not for guns, you would not have that right today. And with that, it's time for me to get out of here. Stay tuned, because coming up right after NPR News, Ed Till will be with you till 4 o'clock. Until tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., this is Bob Williams. Take care of yourselves.